Hey, so I wanted to come in and talk about The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. I hadn't actually heard about this book before I read it. Obviously, I've heard the title before because it's a famous book. I heard about it more because I was intrigued when I saw it in a Madonna music video. Maybe this time last year, she came out with her Madame X album, and in one of the music videos for Crave, my favourite song from the album, there's a part where I guess she's meant to be like writing a love letter to like her lover in the music video, and she's writing, "The heart is a lonely hunter." I read this back in May or April maybe, and when I read it, it actually really, really depressed me. It is such a depressing book. I do think it's a brilliant novel, but for me, I just find it particularly hard going. And there's also a really good introduction to this one. Yeah, an introduction by Cassia Body. And the introduction I enjoyed. I didn't read that until afterwards because that's what I tend to do with introductions and afterwards. This was set in the American South, and it's set in this town where there's just fuck all going on. I think it's set in the Great Depression, and it follows these characters in the town as they struggle with life. So one of the main characters is called John Singer. He's referred to as Mr. Singer normally in the book, and he is a deaf mute. No one really knows that much about him, and in the introduction, I'm pretty sure they likened him to God, and that he basically represents silent God. The various characters kind of treat Singer as a therapist, really, which, I mean, I enjoyed those moments. I thought it was lovely that amid their hard lives, they are able to try and get their needs met this way. And the more the novel progresses, the more the power starts shifting and the characters meet each other through Mr. Singer. And the question is kind of like, but how much do these people really, like, they rely on Mr. Singer, but how much do they bring to Mr. Singer's life? By the end of the novel, they're like emotional leeches to him, basically. But I mean, he sees them, so you get the sense that as a character, he's strong-minded enough that if he didn't want to see them, he'd just close the door and not let them in. So he enjoys the interaction as well, but there is a cost to the interaction. And Mr. Singer also he kind of has a lifelong companion who is even, I guess he's like mentally disabled. There's no way that he can really function in society. He's got like the mind of a child, and you see his decline in the novel as well. And it's really heartbreaking to see because in this time period, you know that if Mr. Singer wasn't looking out for him, he'd have no chance, like no chance at all, of having any semblance of a normal life. What I found most depressing about the book wasn't the novel in general. Like, the novel I found was generally very compassionate for the characters and true in its depiction of them. In terms of its execution, like pacing, characterization, description, setting, like it was brilliant. But I just find it depressing that in this town there's literally nothing for these people at all. And you follow a character called Lucille, I think, and she's a young girl and she has ambitions. Is it to be? I think it's to be a pianist. So I think maybe that's why in the Madonna music video she references the heart as a lonely hunter, because obviously the title is about, the heart being a lonely hunter. Maybe a reference towards blind ambition and what you are willing to give up to pursue your ambitions. Lucille is a young girl, and the more the novel progresses, there's like a bit where she stumbles into the cafe after working and she's just exhausted, and you get the sense that she's too tired to pursue her ambitions anymore, and that she's probably just gonna make do with, she'd rather have an ice cream and chill out rather than be at her piano. I found the novel depressing in that sense. But I think really that's more realistic. Like 9 times out of 10, the world is probably going to crush people and they're not going to be able to fulfill their ambitions. But once in a while, someone does do it, and that's brilliant. But I think the novel was more realistic in its depictions, that during the Great Depression, it crushed people. The cafe also is like the centre of the town, because cafes are also personally like a favourite place to be for me. They're like a fairly affordable thing to do. Like, if you have, I remember like during the recession in like 2008 to around 2012, That's when like cafes in the UK, we had like chain cafes anyway, obviously, but that's when they really just sprouted everywhere. Like everywhere had them. Like street corners, it wasn't abnormal for street corners to have like three cafes just right next to each other, because under the recession, people were like, rather than having a night out at the cinema for £15 or £20, I can treat myself to a nice drink for £3. So I love cafes. I love reading in them and being in them all day, and um, just observing people in cafes. I find them fascinating places. But the cafe in this is also like the main hub of the town. What is also really brilliant in the novel is the idea of the American dream. At the start, there's these kids just parading around the street. It's almost comedic in its depiction of these kids, but the kids are like tottering down the street, and I think there's a young girl called Baby, and I think she's maybe 3 or 4 years old. I guess she's maybe like a Shirley Temple character, or she would have been. And then there's another boy, and he basically accidentally shoots this girl in the face and disfigures her. And like reading it, I was like, is this meant to be funny? Because I think some people in their reviews have found it funny, but I found it really disturbing. Like as soon as like that happened, like near the start, I was like, fuck, this novel is sparing me nothing. It ruins all the hopes her family had for her. But really, it's kind of like, should a young girl be really being pressured into something as like vapid as the life of a pageant queen? But really, in these like conditions of the Great Depression, you're like, that is literally all that girl had going for her, and those kids ruined that for her. Then Lucille's family then have to basically pay for the hospital care, so that's why Lucille has to find a job, and why then she's too tired to fulfill her ambition. So you see like the roll-on effect of this. The pressures on the individual in hard times sometimes are just too much. And really, I thought the title was just perfect, and I think it has to be one of like the top 10 titles of all time. Surely, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. It's such a beautiful title. Personally, I think it's a brilliant novel, but for me, it was too depressing. I'm pretty sure I didn't read anything for another 2 weeks after I finished this book. By the end of it, I was like really drained. So, have you read this book? If you have, what did you think about it? Apparently, she was 23 when she wrote this, so that is astonishing. Yeah, so this is the last in my series of the lockdown reads. I think 15 books is enough that it's not going to drag on too much. I've seen that a lot of people do Friday reads, so I might do something like that. Personally, Friday would be a bad day for me to pick for a wrap-up kind of video, because I like having the weekend to read, and I like that if I've been busy during the week working, or I just haven't had time to read, that I can spend the weekend just reading if I want to. So for me, Sunday reads will probably be the route I'll go down. So I'll probably be doing Sunday reads from now on. And I'll probably also get into the swing of doing a monthly wrap up.
We fly towards it, always wanting the thing we cannot have. I'm tired of being far away from home, far from what can harm, far from when it's safe. Hope it's not too late. Rush, rush, rush on you. Love, love, love on you. Love you like a fool. Put my trust in you, 'cause you're the one I crave. And my cravings get dangerous, the feelings never fade. I don't think we should play